Good day and welcome to this ABSA Insight Series. I am Fifi. Telecommunications companies are converging not just with the financial sector but in other industries also, like healthcare and agriculture. To discuss this further, I am joined by Prasanna Nana, who is the head of Telecommunications, Media and Technology at ABSA, to walk us through exactly what is going on in the space and the funding that is being allocated here. Prasanna, thanks so much for your time. I mean, over the past 17, 18 months of lockdown or so, we have seen a lot more activity amongst our mobile players in the payments space. And there's been some marginal activity in healthcare and agriculture as well. But just given the close lens that you view these two sectors with, exactly what has been happening thus far?
Hi, Fifi, and thanks for the opportunity to have this chat. Yes, so it's actually quite an exciting time for the telecommunication companies. You and I, we know them as traditional telco companies. You know, they provide voice and data services so that we can communicate on our cell phones. But it's becoming so much more than that. They are now starting to become more technology companies that are actually just helping other industries disrupt themselves. And so when we talk about agriculture and healthcare, as an example, in the agricultural space, where they're having quite an important impact is in farming. They're helping farmers make better decisions about the farms through sensors that can help with irrigation. You put that together with weather forecasting and soil quality. They're really starting to have a profound impact on the sector.
Quite a stunning description there you give, saying that these companies are essentially helping other industries to disrupt themselves. So perhaps in terms of that disruption, what kind of investments, if you can perhaps even put a monetary price tag to it, have we seen go in this space? And are you expecting the level of investments that we've seen thus far to continue in the period ahead?
Yes, so the investment is quite material from all the telecommunication companies, and they're partnering up with strong technology companies, and they're putting quite a bit of money into these initiatives. They're quite good at growing tech entrepreneurs and developing the space. And it's really through connected devices, through the Internet of Things. The telco companies have the infrastructure. And when you put that together with technology, it becomes quite powerful in what they can achieve.
You mentioned working with some of these entrepreneurs. So it sounds like there's a partnership going on in these respective industries, health and agriculture, as opposed to what we have seen historically happening in financial services, where a telecommunications companies have even become a form of threat to traditional banks like yourself as ABSA.
Yes, absolutely. So, yes, in the financial services space, we compete in one way and we partner in other ways. But when it comes to healthcare and agriculture, they're actually partnering very well with these sectors in helping them move towards more digitization in healthcare, for example. And we've seen this especially with COVID, where doctors have had to do online consultations. They've had to prescribe medicines online. And that's really been made possible through partnerships with technology companies and telecommunication companies in particular.
And therefore, this also does sound like a new arena for traditional banks to play in by way of perhaps offering some finance for some of these tech startups that play in the space. And therefore, what is the appetite for ABSA to currently fund the up-and-comings or the scalables in the tech and agri-space right now?
Yes, so ABSA as a sector-led bank, we're very focused on making sure we're providing the right financing solutions to every sector that we cover, not just telecommunications. And I think where we have an advantage is that we can use our sector knowledge both in the telecommunications space, healthcare and agriculture, and we can offer really relevant financing solutions and advisory to our clients, not just financing at the telco level, but even at a project level, we could get more involved.
Because the argument that has also been made is that with these new industries that are emerging, traditional banks don't necessarily have the appetite or the risk appetite to go with them all the way from start to finish because of how approaches to traditional forms of financing have been viewed or implemented. So therefore, what kind of changes are being made internally in the bank with regards to viewing startups that do come knock on your door for funding?
So I think the fundamental principles of credit risk will always be there, and we'll always assess it on that basis. But I think that, coming back to the point about being a sector-led bank, I think the more we understand about our client sectors, I think the easier it gets to start to look at risk in a different way and start to be more innovative in how we solution and fund certain projects or certain initiatives.
Prasanna, just bringing it back to the telecoms players that are currently, I don't know, having fun, as it were, in these new industries. Who is currently dominating, would you say? Who has had first mover advantage?
So I wouldn't say any single telecommunication company is dominating or kind of really leading the pack. I think they're all making significant strides. I think they're all doing quite interesting work, partnering with different tech players, and doing different areas. So some are quite focused on livestock tracking, as an example, with connected collars. Others are more focused on crop yields, soil quality, when we look at the agri sector. So I think they all are making significant strides, and they're all have a very important role to play.
And then, I mean, we're talking about these companies that are fast mutating into something more significant and something a lot bigger, from their traditional provision of voice and data. Now we're talking about being essential mini banks. Now we're talking about them playing in agri and also in health. It sounds like these guys are becoming very big, and I'm just wondering, from a regulatory point of view, are we likely to see the same move by regulators that we have seen in the US and China when it does come to trying to control the size of these big technology companies?
I think, yeah, that's quite a tough one. I think as these companies grow, naturally they will attract attention around, are they being responsible? Are they doing the right thing? And they're already regulated as telecommunication companies, and they already need to act responsibly in the market in which they operate. And I think that goes for any corporate. So as long as they are staying true to their values and operating responsibly, I think there's plenty of room for them to keep growing and doing what they need to do.
Another headwind that's often cited with doing business in Africa and growing in Africa is the infrastructure backlog that we have and the lack of sufficient infrastructure to enable the growth of some of these industries. As it does pertain to telecommunications, health, and even agri, to what degree is the infrastructure challenge a headwind to accelerate growth even further, in your view?
Yes, and we spoke earlier about the level of investment that these telecommunication companies need to make. And this is one area where they continue to make big investments around developing infrastructure, making sure that there's connectivity, not just in the urban areas, but in the rural areas too. So, yes, it remains a challenge in Africa, and companies continue to invest in expanding infrastructure so that there is greater connectivity, and we can continue to move forward in terms of digitization.
And then all these innovations, ultimately, what do they mean for the end user?
I think it's about convenience. I think it's about better decision making. If you have more information at hand, more live, real-time information at hand, you are set up to make better decisions. And in a world, especially in Africa, where food security is a real concern, climate change, water shortages, I think that level of information becomes important so that you can extract the most value out of your farm or your livestock. And from a healthcare perspective, ultimately it comes down to saving lives.
And so do you think that perhaps a lot more attention should be given to what is happening here, particularly from a government point of view, to enable further innovations?
Yes, I think there's always room for government to play in helping drive progression and digitization, and it comes down to, from a government perspective, take for example spectrum. Releasing spectrum so that there's more bandwidth, we can have 5G rolled out quicker. So there is always a role for government to play.
And I suppose that it goes without say that, I mean, with all the parts put in place for the relevant players in the sector to thrive, the benefits that will accrue to the economy and also for job creations are a done deal.
Yeah, I think, and this has always been a concern with digitization is job losses, because people worry about their jobs being automated and being taken over by machines. But I think over time, it creates space for new jobs, for different jobs, rather than, the processes that can be automated.
Prasanna, thanks so much for your time. We will leave it there. Fascinating insights about how telecommunications companies are spreading their wings across the various sectors and partnering with others to ensure increased connectivity and efficiency and speed in doing things the new way. I think it also remains to be seen whether the profits and the margins that will come from venturing out in these new industries will be healthy and will be ones that are beneficial for investors and beneficial for the economy at large. But that is where we leave it for this episode of the ABSA Insight Series, and I was speaking with Prasanna Nana, the head of Telecommunications, Media and Technology at ABSA. And it's a wrap. See you again next time.